obviously, I didn't tell him to say anything or do anything, right? It is rewarding as a head coach to hear that, but it's just been unique. You know, when you're dealing with these guys, and you can tell the emotions with both of them. I know it wasn't an easy decision, but it was something that they eventually came to, and all I want to do is support them, right? So sometimes as a head coach, you got to tell players things they don't want to necessarily hear. When you're an agent or a person that's in that world, they always talk about the good side of things. What I always try to point out is the potential things that can go wrong, right? But these guys have made a decision to jump in. I know that you're going to ask about Chase and other guys. I'm still in a conversation with Chase, so that hasn't been decided, but I think we'll have a decision imminent on that. I think his is a little bit three-tiered, a little bit different, whether or not both these guys were done. I knew Spoon, you know, as he started hearing, you know, as I started seeing with my own eyes how good he was. You know, I've always said, if somebody's going to be a first rounder, you know, it's a no-brainer. I'll help you pack your bags. The second rounder, we probably got to have a conversation. But I think that he's elevated himself in that position. So excited for those guys. We actually got into bowl prep today. Obviously, this last week has been a little bit of newsworthy business. But I would say this: I think you know, obviously having Josh here in the room and realizing what happened this week with Ryan, this isn't something we just kind of woke up to a text in the middle of the night and realized you're going to lose your DC. I think a year ago, as we started to play well down the stretch, I knew the value that Ryan had in our program, and others would want it, right? So when Josh came to me and talked about making a transition with his contract, to forego anybody trying to grab him at a different program, programs that traditionally maybe have paid millions and millions of dollars for a coordinator, something Illinois has never done. Josh didn't hesitate and gave us the opportunity to elevate Ryan to a status that was among the best in college football. But I also was planning for him to be gone, right? Literally from bye week 2, the amount of gain we took from bye week 1 to bye week 2 a year ago, not this past year, was just, I could see a trend in the right direction. I knew what we were doing. We kind of had a meeting after the Virginia game. I expressed where I thought we needed to go and what we needed to do, and we've transitioned into a different type of defense at that point. And because of that, we kept getting better. And then this year, really, when I saw, literally when I was sitting on my couch that evening on a Saturday night or whenever it was, that I remember I was sitting down that Colorado had announced that they had transitioned. I knew that would probably be one that would come after him, right? And that's when I thought at that point, all right, this is going to become real. What's my plan? What's my thoughts? And then that kind of came and went, and then a couple others kind of came and went, and then when Purdue came, I literally remember saying to myself, that's the one where he's going to go, right? And just be by luck. It'll be in conference and everything else. So did everything we could. Josh, I know, talked to their AD. From our end, we try to do everything we can and try to put guys in the best position. To not do that would be counterproductive to everything I believe in, right? So when Ryan called me on Monday, he said it looked like it was trending in the right direction, announcement was coming on Tuesday. I was actually on the road. I made my schedule on the Sunday before. I had people with me that I knew I wanted to be around when this happened. So Tuesday morning, Ahan and I were on a walk. We were on I don't even know what city we were in. Let's see, where were we at? We were in Jackson, Mississippi, I think. Yeah, we were in Jackson, Mississippi, and we were headed on our way to Memphis. But we went for a walk in the morning. We came back and we're in the hotel lobby, and I said, well, it's final. This is where we're going. And I looked at him. I said, are you ready? And he's like, Coach, we don't have to leave for about an hour and a half. I'm like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I said, are you ready to do this? I said, it's official. Ryan's going to take the Purdue job, and I'd like to have you take over as a coordinator and move our program in the direction it's going, but also where it can go. And his response was absolutely awesome. I've watched this young man grow from the practice fields when he was a junior in high school when I offered him to his first GA job, to talking him out of becoming a pastor, because I told him he'd affect more lives as a coach, to where he's come full circle. I know I can see him. He called the defenses this year at times during the course of the season, and the way that we do things defensively, I thought he would give us the best option to continue the success we've had. Also reached out and talked to Terrence Jameson and Andy Boo, guys that I knew would help us progress forward. I knew that decision was going to be tough for Kevin, who I think the world of. I know he's a former play caller, and I was with him that night then in Atlanta. We eventually got to Atlanta that night, and I crossed paths with Kevin, told him what my plans were. He kind of had the week to kind of think about it. and I know Ryan would have intentions of trying to hire him. And that's when he and I got a chance to sit down yesterday, and he informed me that he would be joining Ryan, and for him to be the sole play caller there, I can't blame him for that, right? So everybody gets rewarded in these opportunities. It makes me just think back to, in my career, I've been able to have, I believe, 5, maybe 6 guys become head coaches from under my program or under our background. And my first one was Dave Doran when I was at the University of Wisconsin. Kevin was a GA for us, ironically, and Dave took the head job at Northern Illinois, and he told me that he was going to bring Kevin with him, who was a GA, to bring him there as full-time. So ironically, he's caught in the mix again. This time it was going from a GA to a full-time coach. Now this time it's going from a full-time coach to a play caller. So wish those guys best of luck and move forward, but I'm very excited about our program now. The other thing that's really happened over the last month, we haven't had a chance to visit, is just the way the accolades that have rolled in. You brought up a consensus All-American in Spoon, the awards that Johnny, Keith, Quan, Sid, on offense, obviously, Palcho getting a first-team All-American. Just the awards that's come in is just amazing. I can't keep up with them. I try to retweet every one of them that I see, but I can't even keep up on all those. So great thing. But this full circle for me today was to go out and watch our guys practice today. I always kind of start the day off with our agenda. We had an event on Thursday night where Jen and I had kind of gotten together with Jason Epperson and had an idea about what we could do to really touch some lives in the Champaign-Urbana area. We were hoping maybe to get 10 to 15 kids, 20 kids to show up, and we had over 70 to 80 players of ours show up at this event and reward some young mothers that needed some love around the holidays. So that kind of, I started my meeting. As much as I enjoy them having football success, as much as I see good guys to move on to the NFL, I can't change the way, or I can't buy or coach the feeling that they gave those young mothers on Thursday night by being them. Just really, really cool to see our guys grow. And then today to see them practice the way they did, and one of the things I show is we have official visitors here. So I show our players the visitors that we have this weekend on campus, and today we had 3 guys, another one coming in tonight, and then to see those guys go and engage with those players or those recruits during practice and tell them about what we can, like those 2 just did right here. I can't buy an infomercial about Coach B any more than that, right? I mean, and when it comes out of their mouths and when they're speaking the truth, you can't buy better than that in recruiting because it's genuine, sincere, and it's from the heart. So with that, I guess I'll open it up for questions. I knew that you guys, if I kept you long enough, I have to go to a basketball game. So we'll be off running.
Coach, are you expecting the structure of the staff, those 10 coaching positions, to be the same? In other words, is Aaron still going to coach corners and so forth?
Great question. So what we got right now for the bowl game, Aaron will take over the entire back end. He'll coach corners and safeties. Obviously, he's worked with the corners, but he took the safeties quite a bit. He took all the DBs at times. Ryan, if he was engaged with other parts of the defense. So I see Aaron kind of fulfilling that same type of situation. How it plays out, I have an idea of a couple DB coaches that I want. There's 2 that are at the forefront. One really that I probably be pretty quick to act on if I want. And then up front, I really don't know how that's going to play out. I've been bombarded and overwhelmed with people reaching out to me, NFL, college coordinators, non-coordinators, former head coaches. So I'm really going to take my time with that one. Staffing is everything for me. I knew that I wanted Aaron to be the voice. I literally, when Ryan called to tell me he took the job, I told him I was taking Ryan to the coordinator position, and it's just something I felt pretty strong about. And the other stuff will kind of just play out. JMO and Andy will handle the front. We have Preston Gordon, who's a GA for us, will help with the outside backers. I think Ryan, let him announce them, but there are some graduate assistants and quality control people that I know he's going to pay them a lot more zeros at the end of their paycheck than I could do by NCAA rule. So it's great for those guys to have those opportunities. But the part of our defense will be intact with what we do, how we do it. But we'll make changes. We made changes from year 1 to year 2 during the out of season based on our strengths, and we'll do the same thing this year.
I guess when you were going through that decision process, like you talked about with having a plan for replacing Ryan, what kind of made Aaron the most attractive option for you?
Well, 2 things. First, I've been around him a long time. I've seen him grow. I think I was 31 years old when I had my first play calling opportunity, and he's 34. So And I think in a lot of ways he's a lot more mature than I am at that time, just football-wise. And it also would say that when I'd had Aaron as a young coach as a GA, but he had never been a full-time coach in my presence. But I had all these coaches that he had worked with talked about the touch that he has, the voice that he carries. So when I first got here, I let all of my coaches address the team in spring about any subject they wanted to address them on. And I remember sitting in a room and watching, and here's a young man that I saw as an 18-year-old player stand in front of me, and he had me, goosebumps. And I literally said to Walt after that meeting, I said, he's got it, doesn't he? And he's like, he's got it big time, right? And now I see his football knowledge, and just tell you, these guys obviously, thank me and Ryan. What I think is a great indicator, I was a really good position coach, right? And I think that's what gave me the chance that I got to become a co-coordinator, and then I was good as a co-coordinator, became a coordinator, and I was good as a coordinator, became a head coach. What Aaron Henry has done in the corner room, Spoon started 10 games in 2 years. 2 years later, he's a consensus All-American, potential first-round pick. What he did with Spoon, but I'm going to tell you, the even greater one is Taz, right? Taz hadn't played, hadn't been around. When Taz got hurt, there's a direct correlation to what happened with our season this year, right? And the growth and the amount of things that he's poured into Taz, and then I saw the reaction from our players today. I was trying to keep it quiet just because I wanted to have the first formal announcement in front of our players. But I knew in the world, literally Monday night, Aaron and I were in a home and we told them if there was change, because we were dealing with recruits, right? If there was change, this is going to be the guy that's going to be the coordinator. So I had to spend the last 15 minutes with every recruit we left this week to tell them not to say anything about what I told you. So that was challenging, but I think Aaron's voice and his ability to teach and his ability to inspire, and then today when he talked to the team, he didn't talk about anything other than thanking our players. He said, you are the ones that make this possible. You are the ones that gave us the opportunity to be successful this year. You are the ones that gave Ryan an opportunity to become a head coach. You are the ones that gave me an opportunity as an assistant coach to become a coordinator. And I think that perspective, that selflessness is very, very valuable.
Just a couple more.
Just because Aaron doesn't have play calling experience, as you look to fill these other two spots, are you putting any emphasis on experience in that level? I know you have Andy in the room, but somebody who can maybe be a bridge and help Aaron kind of grow into that role. Yeah.
Age is just a number, right? My first play calling experience, we were I think the 88th defense in the country before I took it over, and then week 5 or 6 we were the #1 defense in the country. I never called a play in my life, right? So everybody's got to start somewhere, and the growth that I saw him make this year was huge. As far as filling in the rest of it, I will fill probably the secondary spot first, and then really because the NFL has 4 weeks left. Because the NCAA bowl season, I'm not going to really rush into that other venue. I don't know what direction I'm going to go yet, but I've got a lot of really good candidates that's growing by the minute. I get the question, but listen, I didn't sit down a year ago with the idea that I would have 3 guys in there with play calling experience with Andy, Kevin, and Ryan. It's just the way that it unfolded. I knew good coaches that want to have it. There's guys that I can fill that role and check the box, but that's not what I'll do. I'll check the box what needs to be checked.
But just to clarify, do you expect Andy and Terrence back?
I do, yeah. I think the water's calmed now. I love Kevin. When he told me yesterday what he was going to do, we had a moment in my office that very special. Been hired him twice. Wish him the best of luck, but I really don't see any more of our full-time staff making transition at this point.
Hi. You in your statement about Mike Leach referenced a long friendship and memories. Can you tell us how you knew him? Can you share?
Yeah.
What can you share?
Yeah, so twofold. Bret, we always go over notes that we want to go through in here, and he said, you haven't commented about Mike, and I'm like, publicly. I said, well, I'm going to wait to do that after the players, because I didn't want to I didn't set a tone for these guys. Mike was the guy that I got to know early in my career. Actually, when he was at Texas Tech, we crossed paths, and then Mark Stoops and I, Mark was at the University of Miami, I was at Kansas State University, might have been at Iowa yet. Mike was the head coach of Texas Tech, and we crossed paths with his staff. And that's the first time I formally met him, talked to him, and then it kind of just, for whatever reason, grew. When I was on the Nike trips at Arkansas, talk about an oddball couple, it was me, Leach, and Cutcliffe. David Cutcliffe would we'd always have a dinner and we kind of rally up and kind of, whether it was pool or listen to some music, Cut and I would just constantly be mesmerized by the conversations we'd get into. When he went after the Mississippi State job, I had let go at Arkansas, so he had reached out to me about the SEC and making a move and all that goes into it. And I remember talking to him about that, and then I remember calling Cut, and they said, "Hey, did you hear from him?" He's like, "Yes, sir." You know, and just the priceless conversations we've had, the moments we've shared. So when this all conversation started happening, you know, when they said it was going to be Mississippi State, I'm like, I've never had a chance to play him as a head coach, right? And so we got announced on Sunday. Monday we exchanged text, and I said, hey, I'm kind of calmed down on Tuesday. So we actually connected on Tuesday and probably talked to him for a half hour. It was the Mike Leach conversation I've always had. We talked about a few random conversations. Talked about seeing each other on Thursday at the bowl game press conference, and I said it was literally Tuesday, I think midday. I don't think it was in the afternoon. I was driving the car with Pat Embleton and said, hey, I'll see you Thursday, man. He said, absolutely, brother, and we hung up, right? And then when I got to the press conference, Josh and I were informed that he wasn't going to be there. I really didn't know a lot of details there. And then as the day unfolded on Saturday or Sunday, you know, just gathering information, and then my heart and prayers go out to that entire university, the youth football team. But I think you can see by the way he's affected people everywhere he's been. Just an absolutely infectious personality, a very, very unique person, a guy that's I never worked under him, but I definitely got smarter by being around Mike Leach on a daily basis. So very tough.
How do you need to approach the bowl game to sort of honor him?
Yeah, so right away reached out to them on what we could do. I know got a very nice note from their administration yesterday, just the things that we have sent over there in memory of Mike. And then there's some things as we get closer to the game. I don't want to announce anything, but there are definitely the right appropriate steps being taken. We don't want to take away from anything that their team is doing. I've seen the helmet I saw that they're possibly wearing, and I addressed it with our team earlier in the week through a Teamworks message, but also today in the morning too. So some of that stuff was there.
We'll finish up with Matt.
Two-part question, Brett.
Yeah.
One is, for the bowl game, do you anticipate Aaron will call the defense in that bowl game, or do you have another plan for that?
No, he called it today.
And
Practice. Yeah.
Okay. And the second is, can I talk to you about the mentors that Aaron's had throughout, including yourself, Dave Dory, and Chris Ash and Derek Mason?
Yeah.
How is that? How has that molded Aaron into who he is today?
It was good for me because when I decided to bring Aaron here with me, I didn't force that on Walt. When I hired Ryan, I said, hey, we're going to hire the staff together, right? We're going to bring these people in and have a conversation. So we brought in 3 DB coaches that we wanted to put at corner, and Aaron was obviously one of those 3. He won that job that day. But I began to see already, like, oh, he's learned some things since I've been around him last, right? But I'm part of those reason we came to today was exactly what you just said. When he was with Dave said these things. When he was with Ted Roof, he said these things. When he was with different coaches along the way, just everybody would just talk about who he is and what he is. When my mother passed, he came up to me, and my mom loved Aaron Henry, so like everybody he touched, he has a great way to do it. But bottom line, I'm not hiring him. He'll actually do less recruiting for me now, right? As a coordinator, you don't get on the road as much as you do. He's got a transition. It was one of the things that I struggled with when I became a coordinator. I loved recruiting. I loved getting on the road, being on the road every day, and it's one of the things we talked about. He was with me pretty much almost this whole week, to be quite honest, because we were in defensive players' homes, and I wanted to have their future coordinator, and that's why I set it up this way. So it was all kind of pre-thought out and orchestrated, but excited for his opportunity.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.